Hi, everyone. We have a panel coming up. I'm the head of AI at Bioprotocol, and I'll be giving a talk shortly. But first, we have a panel led by Astrid Wallard, who's the Chief Investment Officer at SMAPE Capital. And is Astrid here? Perfect. Welcome. And I'll let you introduce.
Awesome. Well, I would ask my panelists to come on stage, please, now and take a seat. We will be speaking about the role of AI in DeSci. That's too good. Awesome. So before we get started into this very interesting discussion, I will ask you just to briefly introduce yourselves and maybe spend a sentence on what your companies are doing. So I'll just get a start. I'm General Partner and Chief Investment Officer at SMAPE Capital, and we're a crypto-native investment fund.
My name is Ismail. I'm one of the co-founders of LaGrange Labs. We're a company that focuses on the intersection of AI and ZK, so how you add verifiability to the outputs of AI models.
Hi, my name is Peter Fedichev. I'm a co-founder of Jera. We are working with massive amounts of human data, training AI to understand chronic diseases and aging.
Hello, good to see everyone. My name is Roland Raventa, and I'm on the investment team at Mechanism Capital. We are known as a crypto-native first fund from 2020, which likes investing in new paradigms, one of them being, of course, bio.
Awesome. Well, great to have you all here. When we speak about AI, then inevitably we also need to consider sort of the data that has been used to train that AI and how it's being used then also for DeSci. Just this morning I was actually at another conference where a lady was also telling the story that we have an issue, for example, with cybersecurity, where AI has also been learned to sort of take into account sort of virus code and sort of is now also using that data set to also then analyze code, create code, and which again sort of makes bad knock-on effects in that respect. So if we think about sort of using AI and all the data that comes with it, where do you see sort of the challenges and also opportunities for DeSci?
Yeah, I mean, I would posit that there is very few risks that are greater to humanity than that of a single rogue actor using a model with some gain-of-function research capability and a $10,000 gene printing machine. I mean, that provides an opportunity to cause mass harm that a single individual can do at a scale that was unprecedented before AI. To be able to add function to some genetic sequence that is some pathogen that can be spread very easily, and then to be able to at home print that is possible today with the existing technology. And this is why you need guardrails and constraints over what models do, the types of data that they're trained on, and how those models can be accessed.
Well, as they say, any AI is only as good as the data that is used to train. And with medical data, as you know, there are lots of additional complications. Like it's a private data, it's private about people who are alive, and that's why it's pretty hard to get. Still, most of the research is done on large government-sponsored biobanks. And when I say large, I'm talking about maybe 500,000 to 1 million people. And that's just a drop in the ocean compared with the total number of people on our planet. So what I think is a huge potential of decentralized science is to bring all these technologies, including on-chain storage or linkage of the data, zero knowledge proof technologies, in order to actually collect a lot more data that has been collected before by the government agencies. So I envision that within a few years, maybe this community will generate a data bank, health bank that is 10x larger than the currently existing, and that will be the revolution.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, given that we're a crypto conference, I think DeSci is built upon the premise of crypto. And when you think about AI, it's a digitally first system. So I think the opportunity and challenge is the same in terms of linking all of these new primitives with crypto, making them work. And I think that in the next decade or so, crypto has the opportunity to help bootstrap such companies and help them grow. And given that AI will need a place for them to exchange value, I think that crypto is the right fit, given that the AI doesn't have the same values as we do of paper money and gold and other ways to exchange value in the real world. So I think the opportunity is to have a very collaborative culture around these new kind of businesses with crypto ethos first, in which you have global community, you have a global bootstrapping mechanism, you have crypto flywheels. So I think that's the opportunity, which at the moment is a challenge as well. It's a bit of both, depending how you look at it.
How far would you say are we actually in sort of the whole progress in DeSci, also employing these AI models? When, well, almost 20 years ago, a security policy advisor for a big EU-funded project, we were trying to build up something like the Google Maps of healthcare, right? That you can zoom in and zoom out of an organism, look at the whole metabolic pathways and how they would be interconnected. But we also struggled with sort of interoperability of data there. And also how you could access some of the data, sort of like, the Holy Grail is always said to be like EHRs, right? But also those, they are sort of very widespread, not all of them accessible. Some records are also just handed manually. So where do you see sort of how we can improve also sort of with sort of the whole Web3 technology that we have and AI technology and sort of really strengthen this space?
Yeah, we're in the first innings of DeSci, objectively. We're in the first innings of the use of AI in science, broadly speaking. I mean, the Nobel Prize last year in a few areas was won by people whose research was heavily contributed to by AI. It's the first time that has happened. And we're just seeing, major companies like Google release research models for chemistry and a number of other areas as well. And we are not even seeing the beginning of citizen-led research using open AI models, nor are we even seeing the use of private AI models that are having proofs of their inference and proofs of the result of research being done on-chain. Very little of the scientific process and reproducibility of scientific results has any type of formal proofs associated with that, specifically in AI-augmented sectors. So we're really just in the first innings of DeSci, right? I mean, we saw earlier this year DeSci get really hot, prices went up, things went down, and people said, well, what's the future of DeSci? Well, the future of DeSci is a very fundamental innovation in something that is natural to human evolution, the progression of healthcare, the progression of science, and the progression of our species' ability to survive.
I mean, I fully agree with the points. I think that, probably a bit of an early take, but I think DeSci is more interesting than DeFi, because in DeFi, we've already built lots of the primitives. Like, there's only so much DEXs and lending and different kinds of financial primitive protocols you can build, but in DeSci, the opportunity is endless. Every single year, as the technology progresses, you can bring all of that with DeSci, and I think that DeSci is very early days, definitely in the first innings, but crypto has been very good at being a global permissionless capital formation tool for protocols or businesses. Up until now, this has mainly been used for speculation, objectively, or limited fundamentals as well, but I think that from now on, companies that actually provide real value, real change, and especially companies in DeSci, it's just that, in my opinion, it will take some time because it's more of a medium to long-term goal in terms of having a company grow, having the research grow, being able to fund researchers in comparison to a, pump fund token. It's just very different mentality, and I think the crypto community in time will be able to think more long-term, and once we see a couple winners, which inevitably I think will happen because of protocols such as Bio, the narrative will shift, and not only in crypto but also within the larger biotech community. I think that in crypto we've been very good at being contrarian and supporting things that otherwise would have been seen as crazy, and I think that's what Bio is doing as well. And 10 years from now, I don't think that they will be seen as crazy. I think they will be seen as revolutionary.
Maybe I would also try to add to this. I think collectively, crypto community has resources comparable with the largest companies in the world. And I think, like in biology, animals of roughly the same size try to occupy the same ecological niches. So Google goes to aging and biotech, Amazon is going to aging and biotech, and then comparable community, which is crypto, will go to aging and biotech. We see it in Binance, for example. The difference is that crypto is decentralized and those guys are Uber's centralized. So it would be really fun to see the emergence of that behavior from this decentralized behavior, and I think DeSci is spearheading this effort.
Awesome. How do you see the future of DeSci, also future trends? Do you also feel that AI agents will take over the scientific process, or how do you see DeSci evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to ask yourself what DeSci fundamentally offers that's different than just centralized science. And I would say that there are, at the core, two things. There is a mechanism for capital formation and a mechanism to programmatically form incentives. That's what you can build with DeSci, right? So the primitive applications, and I think the first ones that we're seeing gain traction are, okay, we have a mechanism for sourcing investment, and we have a mechanism for sourcing incentives for people having, providing data. But that's the start. I think where we're moving is areas where AI, fundamentally in a decentralized fashion, can provide a greater research or diagnostic capacity through the number of people using these models than a single corporation could. This is citizen science. This is large numbers of AI agents rendering inference over private data. And the result of that is, there's these collective, agentic futures where you have large numbers of people using open AI models or even closed AI models with private data to be able to provide some type of clinically significant research outcome.
Maybe just to add on top of that, I think we're seeing a change from, in the financial world, it would be from Wall Street to Main Street. Previously, only a certain selected few companies or people had the technology skills, funding required to do a few things, and especially in this industry, they were controlled or they were directed towards certain directions, and now, given that that will no longer be the case with the improvements of AI, with DeSci as a capital formation opportunity, I think that we'll see a lot more innovation in healthcare as well, just because of this, because of us and crypto is very good at betting on people and betting on insane outcomes, and you'll always have capital that is interested to invest in something that is completely new that nobody has ever tried before, whereas maybe in a traditional VC that will never happen because they will just see it as impossible. Crypto kind of has its own risk metrics or the lack of risk metrics. They just, like investing in very asymmetric outcomes, which this industry can provide.
So I will also try to add to this that, in the future world, like 10 years from now, when lots of AI and agents are around, blockchain and crypto is a natural medium where these things can build, interact with each other, pay to each other, exchange and create value. And second, I believe that crypto provides a permissionless system. So essentially, many years ago, you had to ask a white-collar person to let you do your project. With AI and IT, blue-collar people got access to resources to develop their projects. Now you don't need to graduate from Stanford to get resources to build and finish your project. I think this kind of democratization of entrepreneurship, this is one of the most powerful things that is happening here. And once again, DeSci is spearheading this effort in science.
Great. Are there any questions from the audience at this stage? We've got a few minutes left, 2 minutes.
One question.
There you go, Anish, yeah.
You can shout and we'll repeat it.
I'm kind of curious because you take the top 5 elements, sum it up, it's tiny, you take the top 5 pharma companies, and that can give you how expensive it is to do drug discovery. I would love to hear from you how you're going to aggregate enough resources.
Right. So let me respond to that. So the cost to train a foundation model is decreasing asymptotically, right? DeepSeek was trained on $10 million worth of compute effectively. And when you talk about crowdsourcing compute from latent resources, it's going to get even cheaper. And you talk about improvements in AI, it's going to get even cheaper. So if you believe that the future of scientific research will move to AI, then the corollary of that is that the future of scientific research will drop asymptotically in cost per Moore's law. right? I mean, a compute-driven industry in a market that indexes on compute is going to decrease in value or decrease in cost of that compute based on Moore's law, right? We've seen this empirically over the last 60 years. And the 2 Nobel Prizes last year were won or awarded to researchers who used AI, Geoffrey Hinton, for example. So I would say that that's a good example of why this is now going to be feasible to be done on the capital environment of crypto. Next question, please.
Sorry, I think there was another one there. Do you want, or I can? We both.
I'll probably take this one. Yeah, I mean, as a crypto liquid investor as well, I think that question makes a lot of sense, and I think the answer is not necessarily doesn't necessarily exist to a full extent because it's quite new, and at the moment there's only a number of, let's say, DeSci protocols that have been listed, and they haven't had a full lifeline that you can assess. So, in my opinion, I think you have to look at what the market wants. As an investor, you can't go against the market. So I think the number one thing that has to be done is to look at their achievements and at their timeline, and we'll only be able to know the real kind of outcomes once one of these research companies or companies will be able to get acquired, will have some sort of financial outcome. Up until then, it's basically we're kind of making educated guesses on the future of those companies, and I think that you have to have sort of a prediction model in which you predict the future outcome of that company and be able to put some sort of value to that and see what are the chances of it being acquired, what are the chances of the research progressing, and what are the chances of it dying. And based on that, you can come up with a valuation model. That's what I would do.
I mean, in terms of investing for SMAPE, it is that I have a natural sciences background. I've helped spun out many companies out of Oxford University as well in sort of the healthcare space. So I have a very strong understanding what it takes to actually get these scientific and healthcare ventures sort of off the ground. And I think this is something that we would be looking to see in a founder as well, or in the founding team as well, right? So there is crypto, which has its own complexities, and then there is biotech, which is also highly regulated and also has its complexities, and you need a very different go-to-market strategy there for patients or the healthcare providers and. You know, so you need a solid understanding what you're actually getting into. As SMAPE, we're actually also taking a long-term approach, so we're not an investor that is sort of getting tokens, that is dumping on the open market. It's very important to us that if we invest, it is a long-term partnership, and we want to advance and accelerate these companies. We are there to support them, and obviously, yes, we have to make our exit within sort of the lifeline of a fund. But there it is also a responsibility not to invest in something where, you know, I don't know, we would need to be divested in a year or so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I also want to add another point. So you're buying and selling an asset that prices in the conditional probability of the success of the research, which is highly liquid and will fluctuate as the research progresses. So you could buy it 1 year in and sell it 3 years in. Even if the research takes 10 years to get through stage 3 clinical trial, there is likely going to be a buyer where if the market correctly prices the risk of this reaching its final outcome times the size of the outcome, that someone will purchase it, right? What crypto provides is just a liquid market to buy and sell an asset that has some corollary to a future cash flow. The only difference between that and, you know, buying and selling an equity is that when you're investing in an early stage biotech company that is not publicly traded, you can't really divest your position very quickly. Crypto just allows you to have a more efficient mechanism for capital formation around the associated risk of the research success.
Awesome. Well, it was really great to have you all here on the panel. If people want to get involved, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to me on Twitter or Telegram or email. We do ZK, we do AI, we do stuff, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, always feel free to reach out on Twitter or here or anywhere.
Twitter or here, anywhere.
Awesome. Thank you very much.